story that I'm going to move into is the energy processing. All right. I am not going to spend a lot of time on this one. We lost a week. And two, we're going to do a whole unit on energy processing, mitochondria, and chloroplast. So I just want you to know the general gist of what these organelles do and how they came about. And then when we get to the chapter on cellular respiration and photosynthesis, I'm going to be more particular about knowing the parts, the inside parts of them. Okay, so what happens inside a mitochondria? Anybody know? Okay, this is where we do ATP synthesis. So like you in high school, you learn that means powerhouse of the cell. This is where cellular respiration and ATP synthesis occur. All right. What about chloroplast? What happens inside a chloroplast? Anybody know? That's where photosynthesis occurs, exactly. So, oh, is that weird? Did you guys hear that? So, typically, I think I told you this before, that typically a mitochondria is orange in color, chloroplasts are green. You can see they have some really cool internal structures that look different than other structures. So, right now, I just would recognize their general shape. But later, we'll have to actually know the real structures. Okay, so what kinds of cells do you think have a mitochondria? Can you name, just in general, what kind of cell has a mitochondria? All eukaryotic cells. So do any prokaryotic cells have a mitochondria? No, because a mitochondria is a membrane-bound structure, right? A membrane-bound organelle. So do all eukaryotic cells have a mitochondria? Yes, right? But only autotrophs have the chloroplast. All right, so plants and algae have chloroplast. Do photosynthetic bacteria have a chloroplast? No, right? Because they don't have organelles. Mitochondria and chloroplasts are organelles. They're membrane bound. Now, these are the other structures that you can see have two membranes. So where did their two membranes come from? Well, the idea is that they came from a bigger cell eating up smaller prokaryotic cells. So if this was our original eukaryotic cell that had a nucleus that formed from the involution of the membrane, that cell was hungry, came across a bacteria, engulfed it, but before it could chop it up for pieces, it realized, hey, this little guy is really pumping out ATP like crazy. Let's just live symbiotically together, partnership. I'll give it resources, it gives me energy, we're all good to go. So there was a benefit to keeping it. Similarly with the chloroplast. Ate it up, it made its own food. Heck, that's a pretty good benefit, so therefore keep it. All right? Now, how do we know that's really what happened? I mean, it's a great idea. Well, there is evidence to suggest this is really the true idea. First, that they have a double membrane. So when this one gobbled up that one, which it looks like it has two membranes here, which it shouldn't, it surrounded it by another membrane in the cell. The second thing is, when we look inside a mitochondria, or we look inside a chloroplast, we can find ribosomes and DNA. Remember the four things that all cells have? Plasma membrane, cytoplasm, ribosomes, DNA. Guess what mitochondria have? Ribosomes, DNA, cell membrane, cytoplasm. Same thing with chloroplast. So those are really, obvious reasons to support that idea. And then the other thing they do is they can grow and reproduce independently inside the eukaryotic cell. So mitochondria make new mitochondria right inside the eukaryotic cell. Now, over many, 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 many years of evolution, if we were to pluck a mitochondria out of one of our cells and put it in a petri dish, it wouldn't survive on its own anymore. it's changed enough over time to be really dependent upon our cells. But originally, it was its own bacteria that could do its own thing. Pretty cool, right? Okay, and that's all I really need you to know about chloroplasts and mitochondria for this unit. We are going to come back and talk way more about how they function later. So here's what I want you to know. Mitochondria are orange and have that weird squiggly inside, and they do cellular respiration and make ATP. And every eukaryotic cell has one. Chloroplasts are green. They have a double membrane too. They do photosynthesis. Only autotrophs have them. Autotrophs have both, right? Mitochondria and chloroplasts. And then I want you to know how they came about through the endosymbiotic theory. Okay? Why do we call it a theory? Because we have lots of evidence to support it. All right, we have about 11 minutes left, and we are to the final piece of this processing that has to happen in the cell, which is support, structure, movement, and communication. All right. Now, these parts are not controlled by organelles. More so, they're controlled by proteins. All right. So there is a skeleton of sorts that keeps the cell in the proper shape, allows it to move, just like our skeleton gives us shape. And when we combine it with contraction, we get movement. The cell's the same way. It has these proteins that help keep its shape and movement. There are 3 types of cytoskeletal proteins. And yes, you have to be able to distinguish one from the other. There are microtubules, which in this picture are colored green. There are microfilaments, which in this picture are colored red. And there are intermediate filaments, which I'm not really sure are staying in this picture. 3 kinds. Now, most of the cytoskeletal proteins interact with another kind of protein called a motor protein when it's involved with movement. Let's see what this video looks like. Hopefully this doesn't crash. So here's what a motor protein looks like. So what's going to happen is here's my protein filament, part of my cytoskeleton. A motor protein is something that basically can walk along the cytoskeleton and cause movement. So it changes shape, and when it changes shape, it then can bind to a different place on the filament. So it's going to bind here, and when it binds there, it changes shape again and it pushes it. So that's the whole idea behind contraction. Okay? All right. So the cytoskeletal proteins often associate with motor proteins to move things. Okay? So there's 2 different kinds. All right, so let's look at the different kinds of microtubules. Cytoskeletal proteins. The first one are microtubules. Microtubules do a lot of cool things. They help the cell maintain shape. They guide vesicles. So when the vesicle leaves the Golgi, how does it get to the plasma membrane? They serve basically as a highway to help traffic those vesicles in the right direction. And they also guide chromosomes during cell division. And then they also associate with motor proteins to move cilia and flagella. Okay, so that's a lot of things. And yes, you should be able to tell all of them. They are made of a protein called tubulin, which you can see there. There are 2 different versions, alpha tubulin and beta tubulin, which are yellow and red in that picture. The best way to kind of think about the general role of the microtubules is to think about them as a highway. So there is a train station right here. my pointer. There's like basically a train station right here, and then the microtubules grow out in every direction from that train station. So if you're a vesicle, for example, that needs to travel along to this side of the cell, you're going to jump on this train track, as opposed if you're supposed to go to this side of the cell, you're going to jump on this train track. All right? They're made up of proteins called tubulin. And they have quaternary structure. Obviously, they make these long filaments. So they're a highway that's going to move things. Now, in this particular configuration, they're moving vesicles filled with proteins or whatever. Later, we'll learn that they also can be highways that associate with motor proteins to move chromosomes during cell division. So, put it in your head, microtubules associate with motor proteins to move vesicles and chromosomes. Should I say it again? Microtubules associate with motor proteins to move vesicles and chromosomes. Motor proteins are pretty cool, and I'm going to show you a video. I might have to post it because I don't know that I'm going to get to it today, that shows how motor proteins actually change shape and basically walk along the microtubule. All right, and how do we know? We can see it under the microscope. Right, so here's actually a microtubule highway, a train track, and these are the vesicles moving along it. Microtubules also power the movement of flagella. So remember we talked about flagella already in bacteria. Remember I said they were structured differently. So this is different in the sense that we use microtubules associated with motor proteins. And then cilia, which are again another short hair-like structure that's involved with movement. All right, so we have two different kinds of movement, flagella and cilia, that are powered by microtubules associated with motor proteins. All right, so I think what I'll do is I'll stop right